Welcome to the Relationship Diversity Podcast, where we celebrate, question, and explore all aspects of relationship structure diversity, from soloamory to monogamy to polyamory and everything in between, because every relationship is as unique as you are. We'll bust through societal programming to break open and dissect everything we thought we knew about relationships, to ask the challenging but transformational questions: who am I, and what do I really want in my relationships? I'm your guide, Carrie Jaroslaw, best-selling author, speaker, intuitive, and coach. Join me as we reimagine all that our most intimate relationships can become. My parents were married for over 20 years. Something happened along the way, and their marriage took a distinct turn when my dad had an affair. Their divorce, understandably, was filled with resentment and anger. Fast forward to my first marriage. There was no infidelity that caused the ending. My husband just thought we could do better, have more, feel more fulfilled than we were able to together. He felt that we were settling. I resisted the shift in our relationship and went into deep introspection following the breakup. Regardless of the different reasons why both of those marriages ended, the conclusion was the same. They were failures. This seeped into my psyche as I saw myself as a failure in relationships. It wasn't the first time I had felt this way. In fact, all my relationships before my marriage had felt like failures as well. I would ask myself, what's my problem? Why can't I figure relationships out? Why do they keep ending? Why do I keep failing? The societal programming that I grew up with supported this perspective. The perspective that success in an intimate relationship is determined by one thing and one thing only: the length of the relationship. Think about it. When you hear a couple has been together for 50 years, what's your first thought? Mine used to be, wow, that's amazing. What a success. Then I started hearing from some friends of mine how their parents are still together after 40 or more years, yet they seem absolutely miserable. They fight all the time, speak disrespectfully to each other, and seem to be incredibly unhappy in each other's company. I remember talking to one of these people about her marriage of over 45 years, asking about their history together, like what attracted them to each other in the first place, and what their marriage has been like. I was pretty shocked at her response. She didn't really remember feeling desire for her husband even in the beginning. It was just a natural progression of a relationship infiltrated with the expectation of marriage. And at almost 80 years old, the thought of leaving an unhappy relationship seems pointless to her. Yet from the outside, simply because she's been married for so long, it's deemed a successful relationship from society standards. Now, this was a different generation, but it's still really interesting to look at and understand. She felt unfulfilled, sacrificing her potential happiness, but was married for a long time, so the relationship is a success. I believe it's time to let go of this superficial qualifier and redefine all that success in a relationship can look like. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. If relationship success can't be found in a number, how can we determine if a relationship is successful? Is it possible for a relationship to be successful even if it ends? I asked people on Instagram what they thought made a relationship successful. Here are some of the things people said. One person said that a relationship is successful if it's alive. Yes, relationships need to continually be fed to feel alive. When we get into the rut of just surviving everyday life, the energy, attraction, and passion gets suffocated out. The relationship begins to feel like an obligation, a chore. Now, I think that when you add young kids and work into the equation, sometimes it really just feels like survival. If the relationship has a strong foundation in the beginning, it can withstand this. And without outside support from family or friends, it sometimes just needs to be this way for a while. At the same time, in order for the relationship to feel good, it needs constant attention. Another person mentioned that a relationship feels successful when we're able to speak about triggers that arise and work through them safely. And yet another in the same vein said respect and clear communication as much as possible shows that a relationship is successful. These both fall under the idea that communication is so fundamental. I just talked about this in the last episode I did with Dr. Ali Griffith about soul-nourishing communication. Someone else said compassion and understanding with each other. Oh, compassion is so important. And both compassion and understanding invite the other person in. It helps both people feel like they're on the same team, and it helps them feel loved and supported. And finally, someone said, a relationship is a success if I'm learning and growing. Now, this is my personal main qualifier for a successful relationship. If I'm continually evolving, learning more about myself and healing, I feel the relationship is a success. Now, did you notice how each of these have nothing to do with how long the relationship has lasted? They aren't about the quantity of time, but about the quality of time together and the quality of the experience as a whole. And with this, a relationship can be successful regardless of whether it lasts 40 years or 4 weeks. When we take unhealthy or unrealistic expectations out of the equation, we release feelings of failure and broaden the scope of what success in relationships can look and feel like. This is where the concept of relationship diversity comes in. By embracing relationship diversity, we take the shoulds and have-tos out of our relationships. And this is the scenario where all the shame of not doing it right, or not being good at relationships, or relationships only lasting a short time can be finally released. It releases all of the societal programming or rules that someone else has determined makes a relationship good and successful. Relationship diversity says, who am I and what do I truly want in my relationships? This brings you the freedom to be your own unique person in your own unique relationships. Therefore, the main qualifier of a fulfilling, successful relationship in the context of relationship diversity becomes this: am I being my true self in this relationship? And am I honoring my needs and desires while honoring my partner's? My first marriage brought me such deep internal healing and release. I healed the relationship with my father and shifted my childhood programming from believing that men always left me because that's what I witnessed my dad doing, which became my experience, to feeling worthy and deserving and capable of being in an intimate relationship. My experiences were completely different after that time. I shifted to calling in different men, behaving and experiencing the relationship in a completely different way, and I felt more fulfilled and met by my partners than I had ever experienced. My marriage and breakup was the catalyst to this, and in that respect, it was 100% successful. So let's go deeper into these two questions that can help determine the success of a relationship. First, am I being my true self in this relationship? Now, you must know yourself, your true self, to answer this for yourself, or at least know who you are in the moment, because we're constantly evolving and growing. How do you get to know who you truly are? This starts with the curiosity, desire, and courage to look within and investigate what your values are, what's important to you, what you like to do. What do you want to experience in your life, in your relationships, in your work? What are your non-negotiables? Those aspects of a relationship that you must have in order to feel the feelings you want to feel. For me, a non-negotiable was open and loving communication. I wanted to feel heard and loved by my partner, and I wanted to do the same for them. Now, am I always that way? No, but I hold it with such importance that I'm always striving to improve the way I communicate. For you, a non-negotiable may be wanting a family. So if you meet someone who doesn't want a family, and yet you really do, staying with that person would prohibit you from staying true to what's really important to you. I don't believe that one person can be your everything and can fill every need you have. That puts too much pressure on one person. But having awareness of your non-negotiables can be helpful in determining if you're being true to yourself or sacrificing or hiding something that's really important to you. Beginning the inquiry into who you are, staying curious and honest with yourself helps this process. Let's say you have a strong interest in cooking, but your partner isn't interested. If this isn't one of your non-negotiables, you could find a friend to take a cooking class with, or take one night a week where you get together to cook a meal and practice your cooking skills. One of your non-negotiables may be a partner who supports your interests by supporting your desire to cook with your friend one night a week. This brings me to the second question and qualifier of a successful relationship in the context of relationship diversity. And that is, am I honoring my needs and desires while honoring my partner's? Like I said, I don't think it's possible to be everything to one person, but that doesn't mean we can't honor our partner's needs by honoring our own. This can be a little complex as we find a common space of existence. Now, it's easy when the needs and desires are similar. These are the places where you come together with your partner, the connective space where you can say, for example, that you're both aligned with your desire to have a family. But when your needs and desires differ or seemingly conflict with each other, it gets a bit more complicated. With relationship diversity, this issue comes up a lot when one partner wants to shift their relationship structure and the other doesn't or is hesitant. I get asked all the time, what do I do if my partner wants to open up the relationship and I don't? When I work with clients who are facing this scenario, we work together to explore every angle. We look at why the one partner wants to open up the relationship. What are they wanting to explore? Why are they drawn to this experience? What need or desire is it fulfilling? Is there something that's missing from the current relationship that they think opening up will fill? And how important is this experience to them? Then we go to the other partner and we look at what that partner is feeling about the possibility. What fears and doubts come up for them? What needs do they have that aren't being fulfilled? How important is it to keep the relationship monogamous? I encourage honesty and courage to look at their past as a couple and individually as we go into this as deeply as possible. And then after thorough investigation, if their desires are different and they can't seem to be resolved with each other being true to themselves, then as hard as it is, the question becomes, do you choose to sacrifice parts of yourself to stay in the relationship? Or do you agree that the relationship as it is must come to an end to truly honor who you are? By exploring all of the angles above, this can be a conscious and many times loving decision that supports each other while supporting and honoring self. And if the relationship ends, it was still a success because it became a process of growth, exploration, and evolution of self. This, in my opinion, is so much more successful than staying stuck in a relationship for 50 years and denying or burying your authentic self. It's a very different way of looking at relationships than what we're modeled or taught through our parents or society. But I believe it's the way to live an intentional, meaningful, and fulfilled life. Stay curious. Thanks so much for listening to the Relationship Diversity Podcast. Want to learn more about relationship diversity? I've got a free guide I'd love to send you. Go to www.relationshipdiversitypodcast.com to get yours sent right to you. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. You being here and participating in the conversation about relationship diversity is what helps us create a space of inclusivity and acceptance together. The more comfortable and normal it is to acknowledge the vast and varied relating we all do, the faster we'll shift to a paradigm of conscious, intentional, and diverse relationships. New episodes are released every Thursday. Stay connected with me through my website, carriejaroslow.com, Instagram, or TikTok. Stay curious. Every relationship is as unique as you are. Are you feeling stuck or unfulfilled in your intimate relationship? Do all your relationships end in the same way? Do you feel like you've lost the spark in your current relationship? Can you never even find one person who you want to explore a relationship with? If you answered yes to any of those questions, are sick and tired of feeling like a failure in your relationships, and desperately desire a different experience, then my 8-week deep reprogramming intensive may be the answer for you. In this program, I work individually with you for 8 transformative weeks. We'll identify the subconscious programming that's keeping you stuck and shift it to a new affirming belief systems. We go deep, we get real, we get results. This is healing unlike anything you've ever experienced before. Here's what people are saying. Jordan from North Carolina said, more has shifted in 8 weeks of working with Carrie than 10 years of psychotherapy. Jane from Sanford, North Carolina said, it's honestly changed my life. And Cassie from Santa Barbara, California said, Carrie's laser precision in helping me diagnose where the stuck energy was helped me make positive movement in our first session alone. Absolutely transformational. I love being a guide and witness to these courageous people who claim that they were done with their past experiences and ready for something different. I'm opening a limited number of spots for 2023 and would love to help you permanently transform your relationship experience. To set up a free 30-minute clarity call where I'll help you uncover your number one block to fulfilling relationships, connect with me through the link in the show notes. You are worthy of experiencing deep fulfillment and love in your relationships. This intensive work will help you get there.